This time around for my Azure vlogs, I've decided to go through section by section. There's like the overall chapters of everything, and then there's separate little sections inside each of those. So I'm going to look at each of those little sections inside in a different vlog. So, for instance, and here's my notes that you can find on my ePortfolio. The overall thing is the AZ-104 prerequisites. But then there's these other smaller sections that is configuring Azure resources with tools. And then so like this section, I'd go through, and this is what this one's going to be, is I'm going to go through all of the content and go through the documentation that's available for everyone on the physical Microsoft website for learning how to use Azure. And then I'm going to do the same thing in a different vlog with the next ones, and I'll reference my notes and why I decided to put some of the stuff down. And then I'm pretty much just going to go through all of these and just explain and kind of help myself and I guess whoever's watching this how to like do and see the different things and learn off of the Microsoft Azure. I might do a couple of other things in different places, but for now I'm just going to stick mainly with the text. So you can find my ePortfolio at the end of the video. If you head over to my profile, you should. Yep. So if you head over, just let me get out of this. Yep. Okay. So if you head over to this, you can see I have my LinkedIn and ePortfolio linked. If you just click on the ePortfolio, you can see all the different content that I've put up. You just go over to so you click on the ePortfolio, go over to certifications, AZ-104, then if you scroll down and click on the first part, the AZ-104 prerequisites for administrators, it'll take you over to this page. This is one of here's the 6 sections that lays them all out for you, and then there's the many individual lessons within these. So I haven't signed into this account, so I'm going to pause and sign in really quick. Okay, now that I've signed in, you can see I've already gone through 3 of these, but for right now in this vlog, I'm just going to be focusing on the first one, in configuring Azure resources with tools. So it lays out the objectives, which I've put out in here. So if you go to the same place, you can click on the little linked image right there, and it'll take you over to my notes. Yep, and it's also, yep, so then my ePortfolio is also linked on this, as well as various YouTube videos I found that I'll end up watching, and some of the people that I've already found helpful when going through the AZ-900. So I kind of like understand it when if I ever have to reference back, which I probably will, what this section was on. I personally have liked to write down the objectives. So this one's pretty much going over just using the different portals to start up different things in Azure, so it's like a different option than going in and manually doing things. So the portal, you can just kind of make a script or enter a couple lines of code and do it that way instead. which can be easier when you're doing a larger scale thing. Yep. So I'm just going to start with this one. Once again, now that I've gone into it, it says learning objectives, scenarios. So this shows you to. So I just like to walk through all of this, just take my time. It says this should only take 3 minutes, but I like to just kind of go into things and explore a little bit. So it says to use the Azure Portal. The Azure Portal lets you build, manage, and monitor everything from simple web apps to complex cloud applications in a single unified console. So it shows you a picture of the Azure Portal, and it shows you, then it lists off a couple of different things that you can do inside of the Azure Portal. I'm not going to read those off right now because you can see them on the screen. So because I know that this is something I'm going to have to go to later, it gives a little notes. You can click on that. Once again, I'll pause, be right back. Alright, so I've entered the Azure Portal. I'm not going to need this right now, so I can just kind of exit out and go back to the text. I'll pause again until I get back there. Alright, so then on to the next little unit inside. It says use the Azure Cloud Shell. Azure Cloud Shell is an interactive browser-accessible shell for managing Azure resources. It provides the flexibility of choosing the shell experience that best suits the way you work. Linux users can opt for a bash experience, while Windows users can opt for a PowerShell. Cloud Shell enables access to a browser-based command line experience built with Azure management tasks in mind. You can use Cloud Shell to work untethered from a local machine in a way only the cloud can provide. Okay, then it goes through some of the cloud features, and I think this next part this is the first part. So it says to use Azure PowerShell. Azure PowerShell is a module that you add to Windows PowerShell or PowerShell Core to enable you to connect to your Azure subscription and manage resources. Azure PowerShell still requires PowerShell to function. PowerShell provides services such as shell window and command parsing. Azure PowerShell adds the Azure-specific commands. For example, PowerShell provides the new AZ-VM command that creates a virtual machine inside your Azure subscription. To use it, you would launch the PowerShell application and issue a command such as the following command. So, I'm going to go over to my Azure homepage, and I'm going to open up Cloud Shell. So to use this, you have to have a storage attached to it for to pretty much just store all of the things that you put into it. So I have a student account attached to this, so I'm just going to create storage really quick. By really quick, I mean it's going to take a couple of minutes. So I'll go back to this really quick while that's loading. I'll put this in, which it's going to create a VM, and then it continues the text with Azure PowerShell is also available two ways: inside a browser via the Cloud Shell, or with a local installation on Linux, macOS, or the Windows operating system. In both cases, you have two modes which to choose. You can use it in an interactive mode, which you manually issue one command at a time, or in a scripting mode, where you execute a script that consists of multiple commands. I would show on just a normal Windows operating system, but because I cannot seem to find my drive, my external drive that I use that runs my virtual machines, because they can get a little large, and I don't really like to store those on my host PC. I'm not going to do that, but I will show once this Yep, which it appears to have started. So it requested to create it. It seemed to have... I think it's still running. Oh, we can try it. That's right. I can't do that, can I? Alright. So then I have, you put in this, and then it's going to ask you for your credentials, so it knows that you can and have permissions to do this if you're on a larger company scale. I'm going to pause while I do this because I'm not 100% sure if it's going to show everything. Alright, so I put in my credentials, and it's now working on configuring and setting everything up within the command line, and there it goes. So it put it in the resource group, it pretty much just set everything up as default with the VM setup command that was given to it in this. Okay, so I'm continuing with the text right now. What is the AZ module? AZ is the formal name for Azure PowerShell module containing commandlets to work with Azure features. It contains hundreds of commandlets that let you control nearly every aspect of Azure resource. You can work with the following features and more: resource groups, storage, VMs, Azure Active Directory, containers, and machine learning. This module is an open source component available on GitHub. When I tried to open this the other day, it was blocked by administrative perms. Thankfully today it seems to be working. That's always a plus. So, that's kind of cool. Alright. No, you may have seen or used Azure PowerShell commands that used an Azure RM format. In December of 2018, Microsoft released for general availability the Azure RM module replacement with the AZ module. This new module has several features, notably shortened commandlets and prefix of AZ, which replaces Azure RM, the AZ, so they pretty much changed the thing in 2018, and I just read that for little to no reason. Oh, yeah, and a lot of these will have these documentations, sorry, wrong word, that will have a bunch of different resources that you can use, and kind of like a bunch of different guides and stuff, and just a really nice resource. Again, I have my notes, I've written a bunch of stuff down, I have the GitHub thing here, and then I included all of those reference links that they call them. Then, again, Azure CLI. It's pretty much the same thing, just in the Azure CLI, so I won't dive too deep into this because I already done it. Yep, and then, of course, it gives you the normal little knowledge check at the end. Let me see if I remember this from the other day. Your company is building a video editing application that will offer online storage for user-generated video content. The videos will be stored in Azure Blobs, an Azure storage account that will contain blobs. It's unlikely that a storage account will never need to be removed or recreated because this will delete all the user videos. Which tool is most likely to offer the quickest and easiest way to create the storage account? It's going to be... So it's not going to be Azure Portal. I know that. It's going to be CLI or PowerShell. I think it's CLI. The Azure CLI can be installed on which of the following: Windows, Linux, both. Another administrator is managing Azure locally using PowerShell. They have launched PowerShell as an administrator. Which of the following commands should be executed first? Well, logically, you should connect it before you start to do stuff with it. Alright, so I was wrong. It was Azure Portal, I guess. The other two were correct, though. Yep, and then it gives you a bunch of different documentations and stuff, like the CLI one that I didn't go into, because it was Same thing as the last one, but with the CLI documentation instead of the PowerShell documentation. Then there's a bunch of different sandbox exercises. I'm not going to go into those right now. Let's check one of them out, I guess. So I should go back and start to work through these, just for a little bit of funsies. Alright, so there's a bunch of little sandbox things that you can do that kind of help you prepare for the exam, I guess. And that's pretty much it for this one, though. Yep, and then at the end, I can manage resources with yada yada yada. And then the additional resource thing that I linked at the end. And that's part of the next one. Alright. So that's pretty much everything that Configure Azure Resources with Tools went through. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna do one of these for all of them. This is just the second one, technically, if you include the introduction of a bunch of them that I'm gonna do. And I hope to have all of this done sometime by December. It's currently September. Hopefully I can get that far that quickly. Anyway, thank you. Have a nice day.